Hello everyone, and welcome to Community Corner, a monthly segment here on Darshan TV that's presented by South Asian Americans Leading Together, or SALT. My name is Deepa Iyer, and I'm your host for Community Corner. I'm also the director of SALT, which is a national nonprofit organization located in the DC metropolitan area. SALT addresses issues affecting the South Asian community here in the United States through advocacy, community education, and leadership development programs. Last month on Community Corner, we looked at the issue of mental health, and this month we are going to address the issue of bias and discrimination affecting South Asians. In order to do that, I have two knowledgeable guests here with me, whom I'd like to introduce to you. We have Rajdeep Singh Jolly, who is the Washington, D.C.-based representative of the Sikh Coalition, which is a national organization that addresses issues affecting the Sikh community through legal services and assistance, advocacy, and community education. We also have Nadia Ferozvi, who is a staff attorney at the Asian Pacific American Legal Resource Center, which is an organization here in the D.C. metropolitan area that provides legal services to low-income Asians. Nadia is also a member of the Capital Area Muslim Bar Association. Welcome to Community Corner, Nadia and Rajdeep. Thank you.
Thank you.
As I mentioned earlier, we're going to look at the issue of bias and discrimination on today's Community Corner segment. I want to first talk to both of you, Nadia and Rajdeep, about the different forms of bias and discrimination that exist. There are so many. We know, for example, that many South Asian children face bullying and teasing when they're in the school cafeteria or the playground, for example. We know that South Asians often don't get jobs because of the fact that they're discriminated against because of their accent or the country that they're from. And we also know that some South Asians face actual hate crimes, where they're the victims of a brutal murder or assault or other forms of violent harassment. So let's unpack these different forms of bias and discrimination. And I want to start with you, Rajdeep, to tell us a little bit about bullying and what happens to children often in schools, and how you believe bullying and school-based discrimination can actually be addressed.
Absolutely. Thanks, first of all, for having us, Deepa. Our organization, the Sikh Coalition, in 2007 wrote a report entitled Hatred in the Hallways. And according to that report, which was based on surveys of Sikh students throughout New York City, approximately 75% of Sikh students in the Queensborough of New York City reported that they had been bullied. Mm-hmm. And in terms of examples, and this is sort of ironic in the context of that report, a year after it was written, in May 2008, a Sikh student in New Jersey had his turban set on fire by a bully in the schoolyard. The following month in New York City, another Sikh student had his facial sort of orbital bone broken by a bully who was attempting to remove his turban. These are only sort of the more high-profile examples of bullying which have taken place in New York, and unfortunately this is a problem which affects Sikhs nationwide.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about what the Sikh Coalition as well as school districts are doing to address this form of bullying that's based on religious targeting?
Absolutely. There are three steps which we've taken. In the first place, the Sikh Coalition has on its website a subsection called Khalsa Kids, and it is composed of resources, literature, age-specific, age-appropriate literature for students and for parents. And it addresses strategies for dealing with bullying, avoiding it, and solving the problem after it's happened. That's one step that we've taken. In New York City, locally, the Sikh Coalition has undertaken a grassroots effort to strengthen regulations. All students have the right to report bullying and seek remedies and relief for bullying incidents. And the third approach that we've taken is to address the problem on a federal level. There's a federal law that's being considered by the U.S. Congress called the Safe Schools Improvement Act, and the Sikh Coalition is a strong supporter of that legislation.
So Nadia, let's look at another form of bias and discrimination that affects South Asians, and that's in the context of workplace discrimination. I know that for the Muslim community, especially since 9/11, there have been a range of different incidents that have occurred. I wanted you to address a little bit of that and focus in on workplace discrimination specifically.
Sure. Thank you again for having me as well. In terms of the discrimination that has occurred in a post 9/11 basis, I think there have been a lot of hasty conclusions about the Muslim community in particular. And these hasty conclusions relate to religious beliefs, relate to violent tendencies, relate to all manners of things. And that has infiltrated in a lot of different areas, including workplace. And so then you have things, for example, like vandalism at the mosques, or personal crimes against against individuals who are wearing hijab and things like that. That translates into the workplace as well. And so there have been instances when people in the workplace are not able to pray. For example, they're not able to be given opportunity to pray as is religiously mandated. There are women who wear hijab or the head covering who have been denied work, who have been denied applications, who have been denied any degree of employment. There are also individuals who have walked into particular locations who are denied services on account of longer beards, for example, on account of hijab, on various other things. And so this is happening on a more and more regular basis, and there are organizations that are tabulating this information.
And it's important to remember from what you're saying that people do have the right to request prayer time in the workplace.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
And so there are federal laws, local laws that protect our religious rights in the workplace as
Absolutely. There are local and federal laws that do so.
A third form of bias and discrimination that we've been monitoring in the South Asian community, and that is the issue of hate crimes. Now, this is a very pernicious issue, and I wanted, Rajdeep, for you to first tell us what is a hate crime, and why is a hate crime different from any other sort of crime that occurs?
Yes, a hate crime is defined as a crime which is motivated by bias. And what makes it different from an ordinary crime is that it is designed to intimidate members of a group because of their membership in that group. And the law treats it as a special category, as a separate category, because it's much more egregious than a regular crime.
So can you give us an example, perhaps, of a hate crime that occurred perhaps after 9/11 to show us how that particular crime did not just target the victim, but it also targeted an entire community?
Yes, unfortunately, the first victim of post 9/11 backlash was a Sikh American named Mr. Balbir Singh Sodhi. He was shot and killed on September 15, 2001 by someone who mistook him for someone from the Middle East. And it created quite a lot of fear within the Sikh community and the Arab and Muslim and South Asian community, because the assailant, the murderer in that case, thought that he was actually addressing the problem of terrorism, and he thought that he was targeting an Arab. And in fact, in the course of his rampage, he attempted to murder an Afghan family and someone else of Middle Eastern extraction. So his objective was really to terrorize members of these communities.
Okay, so we've heard a little bit about bullying, we've heard about workplace discrimination, and even